Mswati inkosi ithula akayithathe akahambe nayo akayithathe yedenza bakhe
Kusile maswatla mahle siyanivusela bongwane nalomhla kuseni kubumbana insimbi yesithupha ekseni tinsuke tingemashumi 24 inyanga yamabasa lolo and it's just another cold morning
siyaphela nayo
le social lenyanga yamabasa
inyanga yamabasa yani 2 days nje sesingena kulenye inkwekweti
inkwekweti ke iba nawo lamakhata sekucala nemoya simo nje selitulu siya sishintshe kanengana itolo la tinkundleni tekuxhumana bekune debate kuthi ngiphi season lengcono kulo summer nalo winter basho ukuthi summer ita netimvula nema tropical cyclones nalokwa bange ma disaster lamaningi
and I prefer winter because in winter uyathi ukuthi ndimvweni uyagcoka but in summer kunetimvula etiningi timbuzilwane timbungane cyclones akuningi lokufrustrateako so might as well just
nema hot wings
be warm
nema hot wings ma public transport lomnyaka afuni nekuvula alfastero sekufuna bukane kabi kodwa nje sekunema hot wings la khumbini bongosi siyethemba nivuka kahle nalomhla ekseni njengenjwayelo sicala ngekuthi nje sibongela umtsala wethu insuku lo vuka nathi nalomhla ekseni we are waking up in good health akusiko ke kuhlakanipha kwethu lokho kodwa umdali emazulwini lothi siyasichubeke nekuphila sibe able sibe ngilaba healthy we appreciate that all glory to God sisaqhubeka ke namhlanje lihlelo lethu siyafuna ukuxolisa ngalokuzivelela itolo elihlelweni ngesisetama kuxhumana nasomnotho sanlesibiya sisafuna kubuka yona intuthuko yelive le ingca izivele iICC letfokotise kungasiwe eMaswati kuphela even ema heads of state laqhamukana kulomanye emave empeleni sibonile ne video le trenda ko President Cyril Ramaphosa asho ukuthi cha this is the best ICC in Africa it's the best one he's ever seen ngilokuhle ke lokho sisendlula la kuthenini it's the best one in terms of what we have seen ngemehlo ethu nyalo sisafuna kubona ke lelo phupho la ngwenyama ndvuna ekuthenini isalo iICC esilethela lawo ma returns through lama functionalities la khona la ngekhathi sibila ukuthi kunabo theater lapha ngekhathi kunema conference rooms la khona kudabanjwa khona imihlangano lemikhulu kunenzawo futhi levumela abantu ukuthi ba exhibit sidena njani leto dinvo leto ngekuqinisekisa ukuthi nangemambala iICC is something that is viable economically viable and feasible sita uqoqisana nasomnotho wasenelesibiyana kugabanca insimbi yesikhombisa lomhla kusendlala nathi
Ngazika for 6 lomhla ekseni sidaba sena communications etiko letasekhaya sibuka nje kakhulu iweekend lenkulu lesisuka kiyo ama celebrations laqale ngalesihlanu ukuthi kube lisonto sifuna ukukhulumisana naye Mlandvo Dlamini ukuthi kuhambe kanjani umsebenzi nokuthi nje kube nema international tourists international visitors langanani basuke emaveni awo eta lapha kulemsebenzi lemkhulu yelive sabe sixoxisana naye for 6 lomhla ekseni kumanje sita social care sabona tinza abantu seswati
akayithathe akahambe nayo
Abula basebuhlungini abaphohle mtotonke letinto temhlaba.
Those that are in pain must forget all the problems
Ngoba
they
kuthi
have.
answer la kuletinto temhlaba.
Because the things of the earth have got no answer.
Answer la ikhona khona.
But the answer answer that we have
ikulona losetule
is
emazulwini
all morning.
nangishumayela nini ngisuke ngidishumayela kwananami
When I'm preaching here, I'm preaching to
I
myself.
receive umoya longcwele
I receive the Holy Spirit.
I declare ukuthi a turnaround is coming my way
Memetela ukuthi a turnaround is coming in my life.
Inkosi akayithathe akahambe nayo.
Asiphinze sinemukele sibuke nathi indzaba tesiswati. Hulumende uthi utibophelele ekuqinisa luhlangothi lwekuvikela tehlakalo ngayo yonke indlela. Asebenzise ke ubuciko aphinze alwe nemiphumela lemibi yetehlakalo. Liphindland vunankulu selimemetele ligama lelisha nelogo lensha elibandla lekuphunga tehlakalo.
Tehlakalo tiyaye tishiye umonakalo tilethe umphumela lomubi kutemnotho nentuthuko yanoma ngabe nguliphi live. Hulumende welive laseswatini sowuvete kutibophelela kwakhe ekuvikeleni nasekulweni netehlakalo akwende lokhu asebenzisa buciko. Akhulumana kwethula luphawu lolusha neligama lelisha lelibandla lekuphunga tehlakalo liphindland vunankulu emphungatho Kusile lithi hulumende ubone ukuthi akayibuke ngalelinye liso indzaba yetehlakalo.
Lonke liswati litabeli lisebenza naye endlini. Civil society, captains of industry, wonke muntu muthe nomsebenzi usata usenjela ngwe usata wendeka sigijime sonke senze lo mfana akhule andlondlobala umvalo wesive emaswati kayathi uthi umvalo yini esibayeni
protects. The board also recognizes that institutional transformation must go beyond branding and improve the operations of the agency or the authority. This requires institutional discipline. The authority must strengthen its internal.
Sihlalo elibandla labaqonzisi kulo libandla lekuphunga tehlakalo lomathemba hlophe uthe ibhodi itimisele ukuthi yende lokho lethunywe kona kude ilethe lushintsho lolufanele esiveni. Itolo nakuthandike livele ilwile indzaba yetehlakalo eveni ngekusebenzisana nato tonke tinhlangothi letisinzekako. Lobikako ngugiyani Msibi ngisembabane.
Kuyinsayalo lonke liswati kuqinisekisa ukuthi tekuvakasha tiyandlondlobala eveni lokho kuvetwe indvuna yelitiko letekuvakasha umhlonishwa Jane Simelane emhlanganweni netinhlangothi letitsinzekako esipiki lakhona ngachubeke wagcizelela ikakhulukati yendzabeni kwekuthi leSwatini ngilona ke lihamba embili ekugcineni buve nemasiko alo.
Lana ke kubukwa indzaba lethi uma ngabe sita sivakashi eveni asikhanze emagceke ethu ahlobile asikhanze emandi ethu ahlobile abakhanze kude tibi baka environment bagcugutela ukuthi akubete netibi letishiswa kukhona imoya yethu itokhanzakala ihlobile. Lokunye tivakashi letikutelako eveni titela kutobuka lisiko lethu ngoba mhlaba wonke ngilo live nje kuphela leli leselingilona lisele nekokuthi liphile buve balo ngendlela lengiyo ligcine nemasiko alo ngalokuphelele. So siyacela ke emaswati lokuthi emaswati akithi akachubeke asigcine siswati akachubeke abuphile lobuswati ngoba lakithi akwentiwa ishow kokuthi utawubita abantu ukuthi abete batobuka siswati cha. Bayasibona nje siphila sona Swati sihlala sivunulile.
Kusile mabuza welitiko letemcebo waphansi nemandla uthi kude sive sifake isandla kutekuvakasha lokunganye kubeti impilo kufanele naso kube khona inzuzo lesiyitholako kulo mkhakha.
We believe sustainable development must deliver real benefits to the people. Local communities must actively participate in the tourism industry and not be bystanders. It is a fact that when communities benefit from the environment, they protect it.
Kanti-ke Kenneth Dlamini welitiko letemabhizinisi nekutsengiselana utsi kute tekuvakasha tibengu letikhonsako bosomabhizinisi kakhulukazi labo labancane kufanele bethelwe lwati ngekuphatsa tivakashi.
Tourism provides a ready and consistent market. The task before us is to ensure that local enterprises are sufficiently capacitated to meet that demand in both quality and volume.
Umphathi welidolobha lasesipiki Daniel Pave utsi batibophelele balidolobha ngekubambisana netinini tabo kufaka tinhlelo tekutfutfukisa tekuvakasha kulesifundza.
As a town, we want to move away from being an isolated attraction sites, which is in the northern region, but we want to share synergies with other integrated stakeholders that we have so that tourism becomes a living, vibrant mechanism.
Kubika Thabiso Maphanga ehotela esipiki.
Ngakulokunye indvuna yelitiko letekuvakasha umhlonishwa Jane Simelane sewukhutsate eMaswati ukuthi akasebenzise lithuba lelivuliwe lekuvakashela ingqophamlando elihotela lilatiwa nge-Ezulwini Palazzo. Indvuna ikuvetele ukuyicocisana nensatheli yalo msakato ehotela lasesipiki.
Litiko ngekuthunywa abantu labadzala elungisile ke lokho ukuthi labafuna kutobona lo ingqophamlando yethu ye-ICC bavumelekile kuta bateyibuka tikhatsi tekungena ngo-10 itho yekucala itawucala nga-10 ekuseni kusho ukuthi 10 yesibili itho itawucala nga-12 yesithathu itawucala nga-2 yekugcina ke leya nga-2 emva kwalokho seside lenye ngafuna abantu bashayise bambe baye emakhaya silungisile ke kokuthi bangeta kuze kushayele esihlanu lele siya kuye bese ke ilanga lekugcina ngci sitawuphinze sente nangemsombuluko shothi nje lonke leliviki leli kuze kushayele esihlanu lo holiday bese ke sesiyenda ke ngemsombuluko lo evikini lelita.
Bahlabeleli labanemakhono labakhangise ngemakhono abo emcimbini yekuhalalisela silo eminyakeni lengama-58 yadalwa kanye-ke neminyaka lengama-40 silo sisesihlalweni. Babonga kakhulu babulala emabhodlela ngekunikwa litfuba lekukhangisa ngemakhono abo.
Nami ngilomunye lohlabele kasomhlolo sine weekend lenkulu yekubonga kuNkulunkulu ukuthi usiholile singeMaswati silo sethu saphusa iminyaka lengu-40 waphinze waphila iminyaka lengu-58 ngilijabulele lelithuba leli ukuthi nami ngikhona kuyohlabelela inkosi yami lengibusako emhlabeni ngijabulile kokuthi futhi sibe baningi thina ama-artist akangwane lekahlabele across the weekend. Kuyasijabulisa lokho kakhulu siyadibongela nje kisosilo siyabonga kumhlekazi ukuthi nathi sibe ngilabakhethiwe ukuthi siyodumisela inkosi yethu lesiyithanda kakhulu. Lengikujabulele kakhulu Maswati lamahle ngiloko ukuthi asikakhetheki besiphatheke ngendlela lefanana nabo bonke labanye noma ngabe baqhamuka kuphi lele bebakudla nathi besikudla labe kuhleti khona nathi besihleti khona nababhadalwa nathi besibhadalwa kude la sikhetheke khona sativela ukuthi uyatithile ngazo ukuthi sesitivela sibancane.
Kube lithuba lelihle kakhulu ukuthi siperforme neNkosatana siyiLimpopo Choir neMbabane Chamber Orchestra. Ngicabanga ukuthi inkosi iyayivele inayo le vision yokuthi emakhono ngalelinye ilanga ayaba ingcenye yebantu labafukula umnotho welive. So ngiyacabanga ukuthi lokunyalo etikolweni nje kukhona expressive art eMaswati ayawubona ukuthi cha imali ikhona nangakhona ngalaka expressive art neMaswati ayakhona ukubhadaleka imali letinkulu.
I think eMaswati kumbe bonke abantu labatsala labakhona etikhundleni especially labadecide ukuthi lana ngena yipi artist noma lana ngena muphi kumbe a creative individual. Mona ngathi sebabonile ukuthi now we are excelling kuleli sikwenda. So akusithi ukuthi kumbe bebasendela ifavor abonile nje ukuthi cha na aMaswati nanga angasimelela nyalo noma kungathiwa ukuthi ama head of states langanani.
So kuvela embi kwemakhosi nesive siperforme kwaba lithuba lelihle kakhulu lelo nekuthi nje sithi bongele eMaswatini ngesupport laba sinike yona sicabanga ukuthi nathi kuvela imbi kwabo ku sibapatele ukuthi sibhadala big to bona ngesupport laba sinika yona bayethe wena waphakathi iqhubeka nje amadoda ulubuseke kuthula nenhlakanipho yakho iqhubeke inkulunkulu lakho yona ulibusela kangwane liqhubeke nekudeveloper etinhlangothini letehlukene lena nalena.
Bantu labakhubatekile nabo babe ingcenye yemicimbi lemikhulu yempelasonto lebeyikhona lapha eveni. Chazile Ziyane lokhangisa ngelikhono lekuthamba embi kwemakhosi yemicimbini lemikhulu yekugubha lusuku lwekudalwa lweNgwenyama nanaye uvete emakhono akhe.
Emakhosi sekakhombise kuba sibonelo lesihle sekwemukela nekuthanza bamvu kufaka ekhathi labakhubatekile. Kule micimbi yelive yempelasonto nabo babonakele bakhangisa ngemakhono abo. Chazile Ziyane ube nelithuba lekuthamba imbi kwemakhosi kanye netivakashi. Ziyane uthi emathuba la njengalawa amfundzisela okunyenti.
Lengakusho malangeni ngiyamhalalisela wena waphakathi kakhulu sukela uqalile lo msebenzi wakhe from Friday ngemgcibelo nangelisomvu solo nje kukuhle kwahamba kahle uNkulunkulu beka solo anathi konke la sicale khona saphinde saphethela khona.
Ziyane ukhangisa ngelikhono lakhe nje angacali njengoba bamfu labakhubatekile babe ingcenye yelibutfo lembali kanye nelibutfo lelithango kanjalo ke nengatsha. Lokuyinvo yeNgwenyama lekwenta iphatheke kuthi wonke angasaleli emuva kuto tonke tinhlelo delive. Kubika Sonto Mlangeni nginaqalisile Mavimbela sisemkhuzweni kaManzini.
Bogats bengapane gridlock security bakhala ngekuthi abaholelwa ngemalanga lekwavumelwana ngawo kuhle kuphela inyanga kucale lenye kubede losho lutho ukuthi abaholi ngani.
Bogats labasebenta enkampanini e-Gridlock Security bayakhala ngemphatho kule nkampani. Kulokunye bathi bayaphuta kuhola kube bede losho lutho ngetizathu letenda kusibaphute kuhola lebeseke kubathonsisa metima njengoba kuphela inyanga kucale lenye bangaholi. Bathi kulokunye ne-uniform yemsebenzi bathi kubhekeke ukuthi utithengele nawo ungasi ucashwa kule nkampani naletinye kutizathu lebatibekile. Sikhulumise lesinye sisebenzi lesingeke sasivete itithombeni sachaza ngetikhalo taso.
Emanga lebawakhulumako bakutshele ukuthi babhadara mhla ka-20 ashaye mhla ka-20 babinzi ashaye mhla ka-21 babinzi ashaye mhla ka-22 babinzi ashaye mhla ka-23 babinzi uze ubude impendulo yakhona nakhona kusuke kuliwa kumele yini lokho ukuthi singize ngibude mina ngisisebenzi lokuthi awu ngabe lamuhla lelibhodo ngabe liyavuthwa yini sina sibhadarwa I think in 103 cent 103.50 103 emalangeni 50 cent kuphinzeke kubona lokho-ke athathe lo 400 nemali lo 4 days bamkhathe lo 4 days loyo 400 lo thathwako futhi mina ngibhadala umuntu long-officer ubhadalwa ngimi lo muntu long-officer akabhadalwa ngigridlock.
Simtholile umcondzisi wayo e-Gridlock Security David Nyathi lesimthole ngelicingo kuphendvula letinsolo.
Sisebenza mtihola on time kunalabanye labahola mhla ka-20 kunalabanye labahola mhla ka-30 31 yabo even if le nangjana ama-contracts abo athi bafuna ukuthi kungafiki mhla ka-5 but mina make sure ukuthi they get their payments by on the 30th or 31st. Le contract yabo labanayo le working contract labanako sisebenzisa nayo lokuthi no work no pay yakubona. So if uma ngabe kusho lo ofile lo 4 days asimbhadalele lo 4 days ukuthi ofile yabo.
Employment Act ya 1980 iyachaza ukuthi sisebenzise entitled ukuthi si-offe angeke bese soyangideductela ukuthi ngi-offeleni.
Le sikusebenzisa lokho akusiko sinto lengekho emsebenzini mina ngisebenzisa everything lokhu la kule gazette yabo lena le qhamuka le emthethweni wakalebha usho kahle lo mthetho lo wale gazette. You cannot pay someone ukuthi usemsebenzini abe angekho u-entitled ukuthi akabe nawo lamalanga langipola ofa ngawo.
Komishana wetisebendi etiko letisebendi nenhlalakahle Kingdom Mamba uthe batakuyilandzelela lendzaba njengoba sesibagcobe ngelitshe kuthola emanga nemaciniso etinsolo.
Kubhekekile ukuthi umcashi uma aqashe isebendi atiholele within 30 days. Kungako kumcoka kumele alibeke ilanga la khona kutawuqala lo 30 days wakhe kusuqala mhla kabani kuyofika mhla kabani. So uma kungakendeki lokho vele kusuke sekuphuleke umthetho wetekusebenta. Umuntu ngokwemthetho nangale sector ya security kubhekeke ukuthi ngenyanga asebenze emalanga lokungenane lang 26 na enyangeni lena 30 emalanga offer 4 lokho ukuthi babe sebayabhadaliswa lokho ukuthi uofile le mali sale kubhadala akukho emthethweni.
Umthetho ke lobuke kucasha kwetisebendi kuleli Employment Act of 1980 ichaza ngalokusobala ukuthi kuselungelweni lesisebendi ukuthi siphumule pheceleti ku-offer nako-ke lokho ku-offer lokubhadalelwa ngumcashi lokungathathwa njengokuthi sisebendi asikho emsebentini ngenhloso. Lobikako nguGiyani Msibi nginacalisile Mavimbela nanolwazi Ncamphalala nanobendulo Shabalala esidashini Mbabane.
Njengoba sibuya kuyo imphela sonto lakhona sive seMaswati besihlanganyele nelive emkhosini kugubha usuku lwekudalwa kwengwenyama ekuhlanganisene ema-58 yadalwa iphindze ihaliselwa ngekuhlanganisa iminyaka lenge-40 isesihlalweni sebukhosi. Sive seMaswati sikhombise imvokodo lenkulu njengoba ke sichazile ukuthi lo msebenzi welive ube ngilomuhle kakhulu.
I'm happy for ingwenyama, ngiyayijabulela ukuthi iyakhula. Ikhulile ingwenyama ngiyambonga uNkulunkulu ngengwenyama.
Sebembuke bomhle kakhulu. Sibonile nje imigidi yonke celebration. Neke bengikhona nange coronation yami nga68 initially. Makuthiwa nje 40 58 nami ngicelebrate kanjalo.
Sive sengonyama sijabule kakhulu. Ikakhulu konto mina bengakayi bengila esikoleni. Nakhona la sikoleni labantwana bebakhempile baphaseke kahle na.
Ngibone ingonyama ifika eminyakeni longa-15 ikhulile. Kusuke buncaneni bayo le. Ngijabulela ukuthi mhla ibekwa ngangikhona.
Umsebenzi wenkosi siujabulele sonke. Lokufika abusa kufike ku-40 weminyaka nalo mnyaka wakhe wokudala lokuthi afike ku-58 vele sothi awujoyina thina.
Kuvuleka kwelihotela le-ICC kutawuletha insaya kanye nemathuba lamanyenti edolobheni lasezulwini njengoba umhlaba wonke ubheke kulo.
Umphathi welidolobha Mathokoza Shongwe uthi batimisele ngekuthi bagcinele lidolobha liphephile kude tivakashi titivele timukelekile. Shongwe uphindze wacela netakhamuti tasezulwini ukuthi tibambise lidolobha ngekugcina tindzawo lapho tihlala khona tihlobile.
Sisatawuhlala phasi nama-operators sibuke ukuthi intipuleti netingoni lesingabambisana nabo kito, but lokukhona kithi is that the facility kufuna isebende iwabenefite eMaswati imali lehlanyelwe ibuye ihlume sikhona harvester kube nesivuno nje lesiphila kulo msebenzi loyo. Ezidolobha kunema studies lesiwendile kunalamanye futhi sitawuchubeka siwende. Mawubuka le dolobha lethu lincane in size. The environment is very beautiful, very beautiful. So as sifuna li develop idolobha kwakhiwe from restaurants to hotels to office spaces kumcoka lokho ukuthi sinakekele imvelo.
Sivele sicocisene nalo msakato sikhombise kujabula ngalelo hotela.
Ukuvula kwalelo hotela sesibona ukuthi emathuba emisebenzi sakata uvuleka enefuthi nemabhizinisi lamanye lakhona emaceleni asatothola emathuba ukuthi anzise ibhizinisi yawo kwiso lesakho hotela leshakusevuleke.
Ngekhathi sale silandze iLas Vegas sayiletha la ekhaya kaNgwane. Nawubuka la ngaphandle ungasibuka lesakhiwo usiphobose but naso la ngekhathi yabona ukuthi alizulu.
Nemnovo welidolobha lasezulwini utawukhula ngekucala kusebenta kwaleli hotela lifufuke nasetinhlangothini letinyenti. kubika Kusile Mavimbela, Anagiani Msibi, Ezulwini.
Inkampani imisebe publishing iyaqhubeka nekwesekela emakwaya lakhona eveni kanye nekukhulisa lithalenta lekuhlabela. Lokhu kulandzela ukuthi le nkampani inikele imali elinganiselwa ku-55,000 emalangeni ku-Eswatini National Choral Music Association.
Lena indlela yekukhutsata nekulomvolota ligugu lemasiko esive seMaswati. Kungagcini lapho kuphindze kuphuphukise umculo wemakwaya ikakhulu njengoba emakwaya adlala indima lenkulu ekukhuliseni tebuciko. Umcondzisi we-imisebe publishing Kusile ubonga Standard Bank nekuchubeka nekubabambisa basenda lomsebenzi.
Siqale kulomnyaka lophelile kubabambisa lo nyaka ke sithi stababambisa nga 55,000 emalangeni lohamba netichaza magama leting 20 lesiswati. Sithi ngaloku siza manje kubakhutsata thina singimisebe sithi hambele embili tindzaba letitfutfukisa emakhono njengoba nathi ukuthi ibhizinisi yethu vele ila ikuthuthukisa nemakhono ngalate kubhala. Siyacondzisisa ke ukuthi letindzaba taka music tingilenge indlela yekukhulisa umuntu futhi ke sikhutsatwa ngile stand lesithethwe Ministry of Education yekuthi sifake lo hlelo lwe CPE etikolweni lapho khona kukhutsatwa khona lamakhono.
Mengameli we-Eswatini National Choral Music Association Sihle Gumbi ubonga inkampani ye-imisebe publishers ngekuchubeka nekusekela njengoba kungumnyaka wesibili babanikelela.
Sithatha kubonga ku-imisebe publishing for the sponsorship lesinikete sona. Siconza kahle ukuthi isimo semnotho asiso lesikahle eveni. Kepha ukuthi bapheze babuye nalonyaka bangabuyi nje nalo 50,000 masiningedana kulomnyaka lophelile banyusanyuse nga 10% kwinhloko kakhulu kithi. Sihambile bo-champagne kaSadak kubusa thine ngeke ngibasho labanye but la Choral asibuyi silambatha.
Mzwandile Mkhabela lokhulumele emakwaya uthi nalonyaka batochubeka nekutikhandla basalungiselela wona omncintiswano.
Simakwaya ke sito ukuthi ke siyethembisa ukuthi nakulomnyaka sitawusebenta ngalokukhulu ukutikhandla ikakhulu when it comes to the performances because sithine sichutselana ngalamavi. Sifuna ke kuveta nekuthi ke siyabonga kakhulu ku Standard Bank ukuthi amvumele imisebe ukuthi achubeke asebende naye kuleti khathi letifana naleti.
Emakwaya langephasi kwe-NCMA alinganiselwa kulangetulu kwelishumi kuto tifundza dotine telive. Ngekusho kwelikhasi le-Eswatini National Choral Music Association, lokukhula kukhombisa ukuthi tingoma temakwaya tinguletinye letitfutfukisa likhono lekuhlabela eveni. Kubika Nombendulo Shabalala, Kamanzini.
Iyaqiniswa imigomo yokutfola imvumo yokusebenta kwetinkampani lakhona sive sitawuhlanganyela khona imali njengoba ke kubonakala ukuthi sive siyachubeka nekulahlekelwa imali kuletinkampani. Lokho kuvetwe ngumphathi welibandla lelibuketa inhlangothi letisebenta ngemali letingesiwo ke emabhange i-Financial Services Regulatory Authority ncemiso njalo lakhona achaze khona ukuthi sekusungulwe nelibandla lelitawukwengamela letindzaba.
Kulamalanga ke sisukumise luhlelo lolukhulu pheceleti lokungi-risk based supervision lapho khona sifuna kusheshe sibone masinyane lapho khona tihlangano setikhombisa tindlela tekufeyila ukuthi FSRA asonzele thutane akhone kwelusa akhone nekuti hlomisa leto tihlangano noma leto tinkampani lesitelusile ukuthi tingabe setingena kuleto tihibe naleyo migosi labangena kiwo. Siyibonile ke lisasasa lelinconywana ekubekiseni eminyakeni lephelile lapho khona sibe khona netindlela letinengana te-engagement. Sihlangene netinkampani ku-2025 na 2026 sawakhipha emathulusi ethu lafaka ekhathi ema-returns lafaka ekhathi ema-self-assessment tools ukuthi lapho khona batisebentela babodwa itinkampani entabo sibheke ini singe-FSRA. Siyakubona ke leyo information ayisonzela ngakithi iyasichushisa vele isinike netingoni lapho khona kufuneka sigcile khona ukuze siprotecte kakhulu ema-consumers ema-financial services product eSwatini. Sibonile ukuthi nangabe singasibo labasonzele kuleti nhlangano ngilapho khona kulimala khona eMaswati. Siyazama ke ukuthi nje sichubeka ikakhulu kule financial lena sibe drutane kakhulu basisite nabo lapho lapho khona kunetindlela lesingathi iconse kahle kuma operations abo. Siyayibonga ke le session yanamuhla nebahleli betindzaba kuthi nabo basinikile imivo ikakhulu nabasebenza tindzaba basinike imivo lapho khona kukhala kakhulu ema consumers lapho kukhala eMaswati khona ukuthi kuletinye isigaba abambone FSRA athutane abambone FSRA atokusite eMaswati. Sifuna kushintsha leyo ndlela leyo Maswati lamahle.
Kuleti qhamuka etinkantolo takuleli hulumende sawubeke etafuleni imali lengo 1.2 million emalangeni kuteke kujutshwe ikontilaki yaloyo lokhulumela hulumende losamiswe emsebentini Aviation Nxumalo. Inzatheli yalo msakato Fortune Dlangamandla iyalandzela nembiko logcwele.
Lokulandzela sevikini eliphelile mayifika lendzaba khona lapha enkantolo hulumende abeka imali etafuleni lengetulu ka400,000 emalangeni lathi imali etinyanga leting80 ukuthi kujutshwe isivumelwano sahulumende kanye naNxumalo sekusebentisana lapho khona Nxumalo bekade akhulumela hulumende kodwa ke Nxumalo wafika walandula bathi angeke aze imukele le mali. Ummeli Khumbulane Professor Msiblomele Nxumalo wathi selijaji abantu edlameni ukuthi kude labavumelane ngako kuthi lokusekhona manje ukuthi inkantolo ichubeke nalesicelo lapho Nxumalo afuna kuboshwa isebenti yahulumende leting3 kulandzela kungahloniphi isijubo senkantolo lesithi akabhadala imali yakhe eliholo kusuka enyangeni yembala eminyakeni 2025 kude kube ngimanje. Ummeli wahulumende lovele ovisini lengcodi yetemthetho ndaba ehle edlamini ubese uyasukuma wathi salijaji ukuthi basakhulumisana Nxumalo. Lijaji lithanze kwathi ukuthi ngemva ukuthi uhulumende sekavile ukuthi Nxumalo akahambisani nalokubhadalwa inyanga leting80 kude kujutshwe ikontilaki yakhe kukhona inilokunye uhulumende lakubeka etafuleni. Ummeli Dlamini ubese wathi salijaji ukuthi uhulumende sowubeka etafuleni imali engu1.2 million emalangeni kude kujutshwe ikontilaki yaNxumalo. Ummeli Dlamini uthi uyamangala ukuthi kungani ummeli Msiba angakuveti lokulankantolo ente kungathi kude lokusha uhulumende lakubeka etafuleni. Ummeli Msiba ubese wathi sinkantolo ukuthi sizathu placement hangayithi vu indzaba ya 1.2 million emalangeni kuthi kude lokubhalwe phansi lanikwe kona. Uthi yena ukhuluma ngalokubhalwe phansi kuphela. Lijaji Dlamini libese libuta ummeli wahulumende Dlamini ukuthi kungani indzaba 1.2 million emalangeni ingakabhalwa phansi. Ummeli Dlamini uthi sizathu salokhu ukuthi lenzaba 1.2 million emalangeni labekwe nguhulumende etafuleni ifike kuyentsambama ngemsombuluko kwase kubabethe isikhathi sekuyibhalela Nxumalo. Lijaji Dlamini libese lithi kulabameli ababili yini lokulukhulu ukuthi basebenzisa tebuciko kulokufaka ekhathi WhatsApp lithi abathumelani ngani lokubhalelana kwabo kuleti inkundla tekuchumana. Lithi ungathi indvuna yetebuciko imbunga Savana Maziya itaba kangaka ukuthi lonke liswathi lisebenzisa ebuciko kuya ngani labameli bafune kusebenzisa indlela takadzeni tekubhalelana. Lijaji lisho ngengimamatheka libese lisile mali lebekwe nguhulumende etafuleni engu1.2 million emalangeni ivutise mathe bahleke bonke lebekade bala nkantolo. Lijaji libese lithi akahambe uhulumende abhale phansi le mali ayibeka etafuleni aphindze achubeke nekukhulumisana naNxumalo. Libese lithi lendzaba le ayibuyela nkantolo nathi 26 kule nyanga letako. Nxumalo wamiswa emsebentini ngemva kwekuthi aboshwe lemacala amabili egagadlele emantombazane leminyaka lengu17 na18 ibudzala. Lokunye enkantolo lenkulu luphenyo lemaphoyisa emacaleni egembula ngebuciko ngalokungekho emthethweni luthi kubhadala irent ya 1,590,700 emalangeni kwase kufulakala kwegembula lokusebenzisa gas lokufaka ekhasi tincingo ema-laptops kubala kulokunye lokungu-717. Le mali le kanye naletinto tegembula lisebenzisa gas itatfulakala etindzaweni leting4 lapho kwaboshwa khona beqhamuka kulamanye amave lawaboshelwa kugembula ngetebuciko bede imvumo. Letindzawo lifaka ekhasi lihhotela eKhasi indzawo yengcebeleko umushwe enkosazana resort. Lenye indzawo kusendlini lesewoodlands bese lenye kuba semadlenya house ekhadze edolobheni eMbabane ehotela eCastle kwatfolakala kwegembula lokungu246. Lo rent yalonke leli hotela liyotayo wabhadala ngetigaba letimbili kumnikati welihotela Betniko Themba Maseko le mali yerent nating 6 enyangeni endlovana wabhadala imali engu200,000 emalangeni kwase kuthi nating 16 kuleyo nyanga wabhadala imali yerent lengu508,000 emalangeni. Yonke le mali yerent lengu700,000 emalangeni yafakwa ebhukwini lasebhange lamaseko eFirst National Bank. Beqhamuka kulamanye amave lababoshwa kuleli hotela abangu85 endzaweni yengcebeleko umushwe enkosazana resort nating 20 enyangeni endlovulenkulu kulomnyaka wa2026 watfolakala kwegembula ngetebuciko lokusebenzisa gas lokungu205 kwaboshwa abantu labavela kulamanye amave labangu32. Imali yerent lebe ibhadelwe ngumsolo aling Peng Ching nating 6 enyangeni endlovana kulomnyaka losetulu beyi-190,000 emalangeni wasenating 16 enyangeni lefanako wabhatala imali engu-350,000 emalangeni yonke leli engu-540,000 emalangeni wanikwa imaphepha umnikati walendzawo ayifakwanga ebhange endlini eWoodlands nating 20 enyangeni yendlovu lenkulu kulomnyaka wa-2026 kwaboshwa bekuchamuka ngephandle labangu-14 kwekugembula lokusebenzisa gesi lokwathathwa kwabangu-54 ebhukwini lasebhange lamastandi walendlu nating 13 enyangeni yendlovana kulomnyaka wa-2026 kwabhadalwa imali engu-48,000 emalangeni le mali yabhadalwa inkampani ye-Eswatini emadlenya house ekhatsi edolobheni eMbabane kwatfolakala kwekugembula lokusebenzisa gesi lokungu-212 nating 23 enyangeni yendlovu lenkulu kulomnyaka wa-2026 kwaboshwa bekuchamuka kulamanye emave labangu-6 inkampani ye-Eswatini kusuka nating 1 enyangeni yenhlaba eminyakeni wa-2025 kuye enyangeni yenhlaba kulomnyaka lesetulu yabhadala imali yerenti lengu-161,000 emalangeni yasekusuka ngenyanga endlovu lenkulu lenkampani ye-Eswatini yaphinzi yabhadala imali yerenti 134,700 emalangeni lokhu kucukethwe ebufakazini bemseshi akhona dluhlu lobulankantolo lapho khona umbuso uphikisa isicelo sekutokela ngephandle saliyotayo losolwa ngekurenta lelihotela laseKusile bufakazi bemseshi dluhlu buthi bekuchamuka kulamanye emave lawaboshwe kuleti ndzawo letibaliwe ngenhla labangetulu 110 babo bebede emaphephe kuba kuleli lobufakazi buthi labangu-57 bede imvumo yokungena kanye nekuba nakuleli lobufakazi buthi labangu-57 bede imvumo yokungena kanye nekuba kuleli ulobufakazi dluhlu uphinze uthi labangu-14 babo basebenzisa timvumo tekungena kuleli letingumgunyathi labangu-10 babo bese timvumo tabo tekuba kuleli setiphelelwe isikhathi labangu-7 bebede bobhukwana bekuphuma nekungena kuleli bese labangu-22 bede emavisa lobufakazi bemseshi dluhlu buchubeka bukhomba ukuthi mhla ka-3 enyangeni endlovana kulomnyaka wa-2026 umfundisi Reverend Senzo Hlatshwayo wasayina lesivumelwano sekusebenzisa leli hotela leKusile njengaleyo labambisa ngayo umsolwa lofuna imvume yokutokela ngephandle longuliyotawo umseshi dluhlu ubese uyakhonkosela ejajini zonke emagagula ukuthi alingamniki umsolwa tawo imvume yokutokela ngephandle njengalo kakuconzi ukuthi wangena njani kuleli tawo ngulomsolwa lothi yena weta kuleli ukuthi ovulela ibhizinisi lekuchicita timotolo letisebenzisa gesi akulokunye enkantolo yetisebenzi kanye nebacashi industrial court lisekale mphathi enyuvesi yebudokotela Eswatini Christian Medical University Paul Senghang Yeng lithi le nyuvesi ayikamphatali imali eliholo lalenyanga lesetulu engu-62,000 emalangeni yengulankantolo kutophocelela le nyuvesi ukuthi imphatale leliholo lakhe yengingilona lowasula esikhundleni sakhe kule nyuvesi kodwa wathi utawuchubeka nekusebenza kube kuphela igontilaki lanayo le nyuvesi le nyuvesi yona ithi njengalo kusekasulile esikhundleni ayigubhe uthi nakafika la nkantolo yengu wathi akasakhonde kungena emabaleni ale nyuvesi njengaloku nating 14 kule nyanga lesetulu kwatiswa abogadzi ukuthi bangamvumela libhathe uthi leliholo lakhe bekumele ngabe langena nating 20 kule nyanga lesetulu uthi lokungangeni kwaleliholo lakhe akukho emthethweni uthi kunenzaba lela nkantolo lesile nyuvesi ayingajubi inkontilaki yakhe kutebe ukuthi lenzaba seyitekwa yaphela ufuna le nkantolo iphocele nyuvesi ukuthi imbhadala leliholo lakhe iphinze futhi itshele bogadzi bakaFidelity ukuthi abayekele kumncanzi angakhoni kungena emabaleni ale nyuvesi kalomkire zone 4 eMbabane uthi ufuna le nyuvesi imvumela achubeke nekwenta umsebenzi wakhe kuba lisekela lemphathi wale nyuvesi ngephandle kwetihibe le nyuvesi setawuphendvula lobikako ngfortune dlangamandla ngisenkantolo yetisebenzi kanye nebacashi
Masipala welidolobha lasezulwini yabambisene netinhlangothi letahlukahlukene kanye nabosomabhizinisi bahlangene ngalesibili kugcizelela kubaluleka kwekuphepha nempilo emsebentini njengoba ke umhlaba ugubha lona lisuku lwekuphila kwengqondo kanye nempilo emsebentini.
Live la kaNgwane liyingxenye yemave lakhambisa embili kuphepha emsebentini njengoba linemithefo kanye nemigomo leqinisekisa lokho. Lokhu kuvetwe ngilobukete kuphepha nempilo emsebentini loqhamuka etiko letisebenti Fortunate Phazizwane naketfula inkulumo yakhe emcimbeni wekugubha lusuku letekuphepha nempilo emsebentini.
Sinemithetho ema-policies imigomo lesiyakhile lekhulumisa ekutheni vele asende konke lokusemandleni esitisebenti sibacashi esinguhulumende ekutheni ngaso sonke isikhathi sisebenta siphephile emsebentini.
Umphathi welidolobha lasezulwini Mathokoza Shongwe uthi kubalulekile kusebentisana emkhathisini wemcashi netisebenti kufeza injongo yokukhicita emsebentini nekugcina indzawo yekusebenta ingilephephile.
Ngoba kulanga la sibuka khona ukuthi kepha nalapho bantu khona basebenta khona lenza ulabakiyo ikahle yini ikakhulu singabuke nje physical safety yabo kokuthi nje ngokwenyama usafe yini but nangengqondo so ifaka ke ekhathi itino lethambisana ne psychosocial kokuthi sitawukhona kubukete ukuthi vele i stress free in the environment lokusebenza kwakho kuyakwenda yini ngokuthi ube ngumuntu nje lo productive ngaso sonke isikhathi noma kuba sesekuba netinto lokhanza ukuthi kuthi ngcinamba letena ukuthi kube likhulu lokusebenza.
Ephetha inkulumo yakhe Zwane uthi baqashi bende dithembiso dekwenda indzawo yekusebenta ibe nguleyo lephephile.
Lama pledges abuke ekutheni mangabe uku executive level uyayithatha in the responsibility kwenda ukuthi lenzawo labantu basebenza khona indzawo lekahle le environment ikahle ukuthi umuntu utawukhona kusebenza akhululeke disebenza takho ti protected yini ukuthi bethe sebamhlukubeta lomunye under your care.
Ngakulokunye licwaningo lelendiwe esibhedlela lesitimele iEPH likhomba ukuthi ling64% lizinga lemave eAfrika lede imithefo noma imigomo levikela inhlala kahle yetisebenzi. Kusobala ukuthi kunakekela impilo yengqondo kuyinsika lengeke isashiya emuva. Ngakho ke kubambisana emkhathisini webaqashi netisebenzi kulenzeke ukuthi kube sisombululo sekwakha indzawo yekusebenta ibe nguleyo lephephile lenakekelako futhi lekhulisa emkhicito. Lobikako unginolwazi Ngamphalala naGiyani Msibi sisezulwini.
Inhlangano yetekundiza i-Airline Association of Southern Africa seyikhipha umbiko kwekuthi itekundiza tingahle tikhinyabeteke ngesizathu sekuncipha kwapetrol watoketa indiza ikakhulu kulesifundza lesisendance nelivekati le-Afrika. Lo mbiko uthi lokukhinyabeteka kungahle kubonakala ngenyanga yenkhwekhweti kulomnyaka losetulu kuya embili. Lesexwayiso sivela nje solo iyachubeka impi ye-Middle East lesekwenda ke kutfolakala kwapetrol ukuthi kube lukhuni. Lombiko uveta ukuthi noma kungaba nekuvuleka nekuvumeleka kwekuhamba kwagasolina kule Strait of Hormuz kungahle kuthatha isikhathi lesitse kwekuthi ke tinvo tisebente njengenjwayelo. Lombiko uveta nekwekuthi lokungatfolakali kwa petrol ngendlela letayelekile kungahle ke kwenyuse ke tindleko tekundiza. Sive sakumalinza ngaphansi kwenkhundla setfokothweni sesivakalise bumatima lesibhekene nabo mayelana netindlu letilimele na kangangakuba ke kudzingeka kucalelwe phansi tifulelwe.
Kulandzela ukuthi itimvula lebetihambisana kanye nemoya nesangcotho evikini leliphelile tilimate impahla yesive lefaka ekhatsi tindlu sive sakumalinza sikhala letimatfonsi njengoba sithi asati sitawutsatsanisi ibhicenani.
Inyalelo onke nje lamathayela lana mawabuka nje ubutibonele ungathi nje kufika umvunga abhusha wajuba totonke letindlu letimvula vele tiphelela kithi oba sokhetha likona nje ukuthi ngabe ngalala ngala noma ngalala bona silinyalelo kakhulu sithi manje sesingathola iseyile simane sivale la tulu lapha la mathekuze ukuthi letuba letimvula tisaqhubeka tisana sikhona lokuthi silalalale.
Vana mkumatima kakhulu shemu ngalokuthi nje lo moya ungena uphume ngale naletimvula tiyanginetha la khatsendlini vele kulukhuni mfana mkubanza kakhulu angikhoni nekulala ngenzaba lelitulu kube mkhulu kakhulu lo moya telutho mfana myeni wami washona kadzeni anginalutho nembantu abami bafile munye nje lokunaye ukuthi nje ngiyacela ngosiyami ukuthi bamani bangibambise ngimane ngipheshe la kuwonakele khona
sesilala ekitchen nakhona sesilala ndawonye nje nalabantwana ngoba lo monakalo omkhulu kakhulu lo wendekile la silala ngaphandle vele empeleni kudla side yonke lento ngwela ngemani netingubo konke kumandi konke netinkuku diphelile tinkuku betindlula over 100 bese nditshela nje ukuthi sinyalo leti nkukhu ngitona leti zokuphelisa kude kusale linye nje kuthi nje nemajingara kuneti letimbili kuphela kuphelile nje inkukhu asina lutho kude losinako asathi ukuthi sithaphuma sibhekephi ngoba konke nje kude imafastelo nemoya kumakata.
Moses Dlamini Copho emphakathi kumalinza uthi
nase kulimala lelithayela sekude la khona ngaphindze futhi asitakale ngabo ngoba lo muntu uvela kanalutho lo muntu kuyenteka aswele kusokudla kwekudla emlonyeni ukhanze usulele ngendlala.
Ngekusho kombiko welibandla leliphungathe ehlakalo eveni abantu labalinyalelwa kulesangcotho balinganiselwa ku-1400 kanti imiti kanye netikolo ayilinganiselwa ku-289 kubika Thembelihle Magutshwa kumalinza.
Misha Kuzwane loqeqesha umdlalo welgaluva uthi umqhudelwano walomdlalo inobuhle Junior Golf Challenge uya ngekukhula njalo futhi ke unetithelo letinhle tayo setiyabonakala.
Iminyaka lesihlanu solomdlalo welgaluva kuleli nobuhle Dlamini asekela imidlalo yabantwana labancane i-Junior Tournament kanti nakulomnyaka bona labadlali balomdlalo labancane bacutselene eMbabane Golf Club lapho khona beyihlukaniswa ngetigaba letine lokuyi-A Division, B Division, C Division bese kuba nema-beginners.
Fundziswa but nawubuka lesigaba sesihambile very happy kumasuku badlala i-national team yalo. Ade badlala nje next week ku zone 5 baqhamuka from the same development, even looking back yena nobuhle uqhamuka from the same structure besendwa ngibaba wakhe, so ubuke ukuthi I think sibamba kahle. I'm very happy and we are hoping to have even more better results. But ke bese kuyasala lokuthi phela technology ishintshe iyashintsha kufuna lokuthi sibe nezinto ba trainer letiphelele singachamuki half bese sicabanga ukuthi sizokhipha the best products.
Labadlali balomdlalo ngekwehlukana kwabo labahlabene bonke bakhombe injabulo ngekukhamba embilini.
I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling pretty good. It's nice to be back home after some time at school. It's obviously nice to see these guys, my friends. So lots of catching up to do. It's good to be back.
Okay, honestly, I wasn't expecting that score, but it's okay.
It came out of shock because me and Kayla were like both, we're basically like on the same level, and we've been first and second since like when we first met in our first competition.
It was very fun, and I want to say thank you for Coach Mishak for helping me with my shots and let me get better at golf.
Ngiyajabula kakhulu ukuthi ngiyabona laba ngikherele bo ngitiva ngijabule kakhulu nebatali bami sebatawujabula nabekhaya ukuthi mangihamba ngisuke ngiyela info labayifunako.
Bangetulu kwamashumi lamathathu badlali balomdlalo labangenele wona lomqhudelwano nobuhle Junior Golf Challenge kanti bonke labangenele wona kube khona labatiwinela kona. Lobika uLinda Dlamini eMbabane.
Tingakwenza bathethu futhi Eswati sitawubuka simo selitulu uma sibahlola emarket sitawubuya sichubeka nehlelo.
to all the viewers of Eswatini TV in the kingdom and beyond. Eswatini TV is regulated by the Eswatini Communications Commission through the Broadcasting Code and Broadcasting Guidelines. Under these instruments, the station commits to broadcasting information and news that have been fact-checked, programs and content in respectful language with no elements of hate speech, violence or sexual activity. If you hear any unsuitable content on this channel, you have a right to voice your complaints with the station management. Should you not be satisfied with the response or action taken, you can escalate your matter to the Communications Commission at PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Call 2406 7000 or send an email to info@esccom.org.za. For more information, visit www.esccom.org.za.
First of all, we'd like to take the opportunity to congratulate His Majesty on serving the nation for 40 years. It is a really great milestone that we are all proud of as a Maswati.
Libito lami ngiwandile ngwakamotha. Kulo msakato sengineminyaka lengu-23 ngisebenza kiyo.
Igama lami nginguKosinathi Mabusela. Ngisebenzile vele ka-Swazi TV kusukela nga-1979 to 2014. Ngagcina-ke sengu-editor-in-chief khona.
In 1986, the Kingdom of Eswatini welcomed a young monarch, His Majesty King Mswati III, whose reign would usher in a new chapter of vision, unity, and pride. That same year, Eswatini television stood as the kingdom's window to the world, capturing the hopes, voices, and dreams of a nation rising with its king. As His Majesty the King guided the nation through its formative years, Eswatini television grew into the heartbeat of national expression. From community stories to national events, every frame carried the pride, rhythm, and the voice of a kingdom united by its king.
Walekelela live umsakazo. Walekelela ingonyama ngaloko ukuthi phela nawe public broadcaster ufuna ukukhuluma iqiniso njengemfundisi. Umsakazo ke usita lapha ekuthini na usheshe wayikhipha indzaba lenye iyasita ekuthini hawu sekuyashangala. Sekusheshe kutholakala ama-solutions. Akusinje lokusonke isikhathi kuhleba lomunye kuceba lomunye no. Kweku-aletha lelive lonke lithi-ke ngema-structures alo kube nesikhathi lokuthi lilungise leto tinto letonakalayo.
I'd say you're right. We are a public broadcaster, and being a public broadcaster means we exist to provide a public service. And it is a public service of educating, informing, and entertaining Maswati. Particularly doing all these elements through the Swazi way, or telling the story of Eswatini, and also carrying and propagating the message and the vision of His Majesty the King.
Under His Majesty's guidance, Eswatini television became the stage for empowerment. New voices rose. Women led, youth found their calling, telling stories of culture, resilience, and hope.
His Majesty's reign reminds us that media can educate and empower. We tell stories that celebrate Eswatini's identity.
Guided by His Majesty's vision of modernization, Eswatini television embraced innovation, evolving from analog to digital, from one channel to a network that connects every corner of the kingdom. Through technology, we carried the royal message of unity, of peace and progress to every screen and every heart.
Itolo kusakada kwethu bese kubita ngalesilungu ukuthi ku-analog. Lokusho ukuthi ku-signal. Engidawuthi mhlawumbe ngile final product lefika emakhaya. Bokhanza ukuthi kukhona kufisitela kwemsindo, kukhona kufisitela kwesithombe. Lobe kuhanza ke ukuthi uzodwa ukhanza umuntu omdzalo umisa umntwana, hey ibhikisi ijikisi uyibhekisele. Ijikisi uyibhekisele ukhanze sigcina sithombe lemsindo kuvakala ngconywana akhona ukubuyela umuntu omdzalo emakhaya.
Today, as Eswatini celebrates His Majesty King Mswati III's 40th year on the throne, we look back with such pride. For 4 decades, Eswatini television has carried the King's vision across time, preserving the memory, the message, and the majesty of our nation's story.
Eswatini TV has been that conduit that carries the voice of His Majesty the King over his 40 years of reign. His Majesty the King, through different forums, including Sibaya, speaks great messages in terms of the direction that the country should take, in terms of guidance to Emaswati, in terms of also just inspiring the nation. Eswatini TV carries those messages to the entire country and the rest of the world.
40 years of the King, 40 years of the nation's voice. Eswatini television salutes His Majesty King Mswati III, our beacon of unity, culture, and progress. Long live the King. Long live Eswatini.
Wow, what a house. Maybe a little much for me though. Okay, this is probably more like what I can afford. Unless I could borrow the money to get something a little bigger. Perfect. But borrowing means that I could be in debt. And for a lot of people, that can be intimidating. But debt is really just a way of borrowing money with the promise of paying it back with interest. That sounds okay, right? Unless I would take out a big loan that I couldn't pay back. People take out loans all the time to buy houses, cars, to pay for school, all sorts of things. And it's not just people. Companies also borrow, and governments do it too. When a government borrows, it's called public debt or sovereign debt. Governments raise this money by issuing bonds and then selling them to the public with a guarantee that they'll pay them back. Just like people, countries need money to buy or build stuff that their income, mostly tax revenues, won't entirely pay for. Governments should invest their money wisely in things that help their citizens. Think of education or healthcare. Governments can also invest in things that will generate revenue or grow the economy, like infrastructure projects. Governments can also use the money to reduce taxes, or they can give it directly to its citizens who need the support. So, why are economists sometimes concerned by public debt? Well, for all the benefits that these funds can bring, there are also risks. Let's take 2 countries to demonstrate. Here's country A, and here's country B. Now, let's say both of them have borrowed roughly the same amount of money at roughly the same time. But looking closer, we can see they have very different economies, notably in size, measured by their gross domestic product or GDP. Let's look at their debt levels again, but this time as a percentage of their GDP. And wow, you see the difference? Same debt, but very different outcomes. Countries are able to manage their debt when they borrow a reasonable amount relative to their ability to pay it. Country A's economy is big enough to pay the interest on the debt. If country B cannot pay things back, well, it gets harder to convince investors to lend you more money. And that is scary because it only gets harder from there. If an economic crisis hits, one of these guys will have the funds they need to respond. The other is going to need some help. The trick here is for governments like country B to invest the money they borrow wisely, which can help keep debt manageable. So, where does that leave me in my new house? Well, first, I need to adjust my own budget. I don't need that. You're gone. Definitely gone. And second, debt isn't about living beyond my means. It's about borrowing a reasonable amount relative to my ability to pay it, even if I do splurge every now and again.
Welcome back. This is the news at 7. Government has committed herself in strengthening disaster risk reduction and use all tools in disaster mitigation. The Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Tulidladla, has launched a new logo and new name for the National Disaster Risk Management Agency.
Disasters usually leave a hail of destruction, and a country suffers economically and socially and otherwise. The government of Eswatini has since strengthened its disaster preparedness and risk reduction. Speaking during the launch of the new logo and new name of the National Disaster Management Agency, which will now be known as the National Disaster Risk Management Authority, the Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Tulidladla, says the new authority will be advanced in disaster risk reduction.
This launch confirms the transition from the National Disaster Management Agency, known as NDMA, to the National Disaster Risk Management Authority, now known as NDRMA. And this transition is not only symbolic, it represents a significant change in the way government intends to manage disasters in the country. The country is moving from a system that was largely associated with disaster response to a stronger and more proactive system focused now on risk reduction.
The NDRMA board chairperson, Lomathemba Hlope, says the board will ensure that it delivers on its mandate.
The board also recognizes that institutional transformation must go beyond branding and improve the operations of the agency or the authority. This requires institutional discipline. The authority must strengthen its internal controls, invest in human capital development, modernize information systems, and maintain public trust.
But Kusile Dlamini and Mlungisi Pembe came up with the new Siswati name and each walked away with 5,000 emalangeni, and they will now be ambassadors of the authority. Reporting Mkiani Msibi, Mbabane.
The Ministry of Tourism and Environmental Affairs has mandated every Liswati to play their role in uplifting the tourism industry in the country. Delivering her keynote address at the third Responsible Tourism Conference held in Pikes Peak Hotel, Minister Jane Similani redefined tourism as a collective national duty rather than a government task, urging every Liswati to actively embody the Swati culture and tradition as heritage is the kingdom's primary economic driver.
Delivering her remarks, the Honourable Minister for Tourism and Environmental Affairs emphasized on that Maswati should give tourists the experience they come into the kingdom seeking.
So tourists, when they come to Eswatini, they come to experience our culture. They come to enjoy our music and enjoy us dancing. They come to see, to enjoy our food, the culinary, the local culinary that we produce. They come here to experience how we live, how we interact as a Maswati. As you may see, most of them, they don't leave the country without visiting Mandenga Cultural Village. That is how they see everything together. They experience how a Maswati live.
Kusile Mabuza, the Undersecretary in the Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy, says for a Maswati to uphold the responsible tourism, they should be entitled to benefits from it.
We believe sustainable development must deliver real benefits to the people. Local communities must actively participate in the tourism industry and not be bystanders. It is a fact that when communities benefit from the environment, they protect it.
Kenneth Lamini of the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade pleaded for the capacitating of SMEs as they are co-drivers of tourism.
Tourism provides a ready and consistent market. The task before us is to ensure that local enterprises are sufficiently capacitated to meet that demand in both quality and volume.
The CEO for Pikes Peak, Daniel Pave, says as a town, it is their mandate to ensure sustainability of tourism in the region.
As a town, we want to move away from being an isolated attraction site, which is in the northern region, but we want to share synergies with other integrated stakeholders that we have so that tourism becomes a living, vibrant mechanism.
Reporting, I am Tabiso Mapanga, Pikes Peak Hotel.
Local artists and performers who took part in the three-day celebration of His Majesty's 58th birthday and 40 years on the throne say the opportunity has validated them as local talent. The creatives say His Majesty is an inspiration for their craft and a true ambassador of the creative industry, especially in promoting culture and language.
Local artists and creatives were given an opportunity to perform for their majesties from Friday to Sunday during the celebrations. The artists say they appreciate the opportunity. Phethile Masilela says it is an honor to perform for their majesties. Masilela says they were treated like international artists as they ate the same food and were also paid. Telmo Samkacho says it was an honor to perform alongside Her Royal Highness Princess Khanyiso together with the two choirs. He says that His Majesty has proven to be a visionary leader, judging by the International Palazzo, which has a theatre that will help develop local talent. Sanchez says their majesties and the organizers saw it fit for them to perform, which validates their talent as local artists. Ngai Umkapelwano says he wishes His Majesty well. He adds that as a praise singer, he is inspired by the work of His Majesty and expresses this through his words. Local artists are being given these opportunities, which shows that they are now of international standards. Judging from the awards, they continue to win outside the country. Reporting Sondomlangeni with Kusile Mavimbela in Manzini.
Disabled persons continue to be recognized and given opportunities to perform in front of their majesties and the nation. They were afforded a chance to showcase their talents during the celebrations of His Majesty's 58th birthday and 40 years on the throne.
Disabled persons, especially Kusile Ziyane, were among the Maswati who performed for their majesties and guests over the weekend. Kusile says she witnessed the celebration for the first time and described it as an amazing experience, as the intention was to celebrate with His Majesty and wish him well. Kusile says that she is proud of their majesties and notes that the celebrations were truly remarkable. She also says that she was excited to attend the celebration at the ICC Palazzo, which she describes as the most beautiful establishment she has ever seen in Eswatini, adding that the building reflects His Majesty's first world vision. Kusile says she has had a great experience where she was able to learn and interact with different people. She also says that she wishes His Majesty long life. Kusile's experience shows that His Majesty embraces everyone in practice and ensures that no one is left behind. Reporting Sondomlangeni with Kusile Mavimbela, Mkhuzweni Manzini.
The Airlines Association of Southern Africa has raised concern over a possible jet fuel shortage in the Southern African development community beyond May this year. The warning follows global supply disruptions linked to the US-Israel-Iran war and instability in the Strait of Hormuz. Jet fuel prices have more than tripled in recent weeks, forcing airlines to increase ticket prices, cut flights, and adjust operations. AASA is calling on governments, fuel suppliers, and airports to urgently share fuel supply plans and improve coordination. The association warns that continued uncertainty could disrupt air travel, trade, and the movement of essential goods across the region. Rising losses in the non-banking financial institution sector are leaving Eswatini reeling, with several SACCOs collapsing and investors counting heavy losses. In response, the Financial Services Regulatory Authority is tightening its grip, rolling out a stronger licensing process, including the creation of a supervisory committee and an independent licensing committee under Section 61C of the FSRA Act 2010. Speaking during a media engagement forum at Nkonyeni Gulf Estate, the Chief Executive Officer Ncamiso Njanjali says the authority is taking bold steps to reinforce its oversight role, including a critical review of the 2010 legislation to give it more enforcement power.
We have been going through a round of self-risk assessments with the financial services providers that we are supervising. The intention is to ensure that on their own they can self-assess themselves on the compliance measures that they've done, so that when we get to engage with them on site, even on off-site surveillance, we are at par on the understanding of their compliance obligations. At this point, we have done quite a number of significant institutions already, and we are now looking at ensuring that the fillers or the standards that we have to enforce prudentially in terms of the risk assessments are one that are responding to their operations. What we've seen over years is that the returns that we've been getting from the FSPs, as much as they are part of the legal framework, there have been some gaps in terms of the emerging products and the emerging risk that we see in the spaces. So it has been quite an improvement for us to know offsite that the heat maps around the areas of supervision are in these areas, and then we get close to them. So it does not now it follows that from legacy issues, would go and do an on-site inspection that covers the wide spectrum of the operation, yet risk-based picks up the sensitive areas that are likely to give us concern quickly, and then we address those ones quickly. Custodians, in terms of our legislations, or trustees, are a third layer in strengthening the regulatory framework. So we have licensed largely all the commercial banks as custodians, and the intent here is the trust deeds that investment or asset managers are using and ensuring that their mandates are sticking to those trust deeds. The custodians are the ones who enforce on our behalf. So, for example, if a fund, a retirement fund, has to place X amount into a particular investment instrument, the custodian is supposed to ensure that those investments are done per the dictates of those trust deeds. So when we come in to do our work, we rely on the custodians as much as we rely on external auditors in terms of their reports. So what we are trying to strengthen now is to make that practice more efficient and more responsible on the part of the pension funds that we are supervising.
Imisebe Publishing continues to support choirs across the country while also promoting the development of singing talent. This follows the company's donation of 55,000 malangeni to the Eswatini National Choral Music Association to assist in preparations for the choral music competition scheduled for 10 September this year.
This is a way of encouraging and preserving cultural heritage. It also contributes to the further development of choral music as it plays a major role in advancing arts. The managing director of Imisebe Publishing, Kusile, has expressed gratitude to Standard Bank for their continued support and partnership in making this initiative possible.
We are very excited again this year to be part of this noble initiative. We are here to present a check of 55,000 emalangeni, which is sponsorship towards this year Eswatini National Choral Music Association. We are sponsoring the Imisebe Choice Piece. It's very fulfilling and gratifying for us to be part of this because we believe in the holistic development of a human being through arts.
The president of the Eswatini National Choral Music Association, Kumbi, expressed gratitude to Imisebe publishers for their continued support, as this is the second year providing assistance.
Thank and appreciate Imisebe Publishing for such a huge sponsorship. We are well aware that last year they gave us a sponsorship of 50,000, which is a 10% increment. This year, because they have given us a 55,000 in Malangen. One would like to encourage companies as well to contribute towards choral music. I've said this before to the Minister of Sports, that choral music, when they go to compete outside the country, they come back with something. Currently, 3 choirs are the champions of SADC. So that tells you something about choral music. Indeed, if companies can invest in choral music, they won't go wrong.
Speaking on behalf of the choirs, Mzwandile Mkabela says they will continue to work hard as they prepare for the competition.
Simakhwaya ke sidwa ukuthi ke siyethembisa ukuthi nakulomnyaka sitawusebenza ngalokukhulu ukudikhandla ikakhulu when it comes to the performances because sithine sichuthelana ngalamavi. Sifuna ke kuveta ukuthi ke siyabonga kakhulu ku Standard Bank ukuthi amvumele Imisebe ukuthi achubeke asebende naye kule dikhathi letifana naleti.
Choirs under the ENCMA are 14 across the country's 4 regions. According to the Eswatini National Choral Music Association, this growth shows that choral music is one of the key areas developing singing talent in the country. Reporting, Nombendulo Shabalala, Manzini.
Coming up in the country's courts, government has offered 1.2 million malangeni to terminate the contract of suspended government spokesperson Alpheus Nxumalo. Our reporter Fortune Langamandla follows with the full report.
Lawyer Kumbulane Professor Msibi, representing suspended government spokesperson Alpheus Nxumalo, tells Industrial Court Judge Abande Dlamini there is currently no agreement between the two parties. Msibi says the court should proceed with Nxumalo's application seeking the arrest of 3 government officials for allegedly failing to comply with the court order directing that Nxumalo be paid his salary from October 2025 to date. Government lawyer Ndabenhle Dlamini from the Attorney General's office tells the court that negotiations with Nxumalo are still underway. Judge Dlamini then asked whether government had improved its earlier offer after Nxumalo rejected the 8-month salary settlement. Dlamini reveals that government has now tabled a new offer of 1.2 million emalangeni to terminate Ngumalo's contract. Msibi responds that he could not address the new figure because it had not yet been formally put in writing, saying he could only argue based on documents before the court. The judge questions why the new offer had not been documented, with governments explaining that the proposal only reached council on Monday afternoon. Judge Lamin says with modern technology such as WhatsApp, the parties should be able to communicate fast instead of relying on outdated methods. The judge also remarked that the 1.2 million Malangen is a significant amount of money and mouth-watering. Government was ordered to formally put the offer in writing and continue with negotiations. The matter is postponed to 26th of next month. Khumalo was suspended after being charged in connection with alleged sexual offences involving two teenagers aged 17 and 18. Meanwhile, in the High Court, police investigations revealed that 1.59 million Malangen was paid in rent across 4 properties linked to the alleged illegal online gambling operations, where 717 electronic gadgets were seized. The properties include Kusile Hotel, Nkosazana Resort, Woodlands Residence, and Madlenya House in Babane. The Kusile Hotel alone, 246 electronic devices were found, while 85 foreign nationals were arrested. Rent amounting to 708,000 Malangen was paid. At Nkosazana Resort, 205 devices were seized, and 32 foreign nationals were arrested. An amount of 540,000 Malangen was paid as rentals. At the Woodlands property, 54 devices were confiscated, while 14 foreign nationals were arrested. Rent amounting to 48,000 Malangen was paid. At Madlenya House, 212 devices were recovered, with 6 foreign nationals taken into custody. 295,000 Malangen was paid as rent. Police investigator Akona Dlutu tells the court that more than 110 of the foreign nationals arrested were in the country illegally, with some having no visas, expired documents, or fraudulent permits. The evidence emerged during the bail proceeding for Yu Tayo, who is accused of renting Kusile Hotel for the operation. Tayo maintains he came to Eswatini to open an electric vehicle business at the industrial court. Eswatini Christian Medical University Vice-Chancellor Paul Senghang Yang has taken the university to court, claiming it has failed to pay his 62,000 monthly salary. Yang, who resigned but insists his contract remains valid until its expiry, also tells the court he has been denied access to the university premises since the 14th of this month. He wants the court to compel the university to pay his outstanding salary, restore his access, and allow him to continue executing his duties without interference. The university is yet to respond. Reporting Fortune Dlangamandla, Industrial Court.
In our sports news, Meshach Zwane, a golf coach, says Nobuhle Junior Golf Challenge continues to grow and its positive impact is now becoming visible.
And this year again, young golfers gathered at the Mbabane.
And that marks the end of our second bulletin. Thank you for staying with us. After the break, we continue with our program.
To all the viewers of Eswatini TV in the kingdom and beyond. Eswatini TV is regulated by the Eswatini Communications Commission through the Broadcasting Code and Broadcasting Guidelines. Under these instruments, the station commits to broadcasting information and news that have been fact-checked programs and content in respectful language with no elements of hate speech, violence, or sexual activity. If you hear any unsuitable content on this channel, you have a right to voice your complaints with the station management. Should you not be satisfied with the response or action taken, you can escalate your matter to the Communications Commission at PO Box 7811 Babani. Call 2406 7000 or send an email to info@escom.org.za. For more information, visit www.escom.org.za.
Msano ingozi akaithathe akahambe nayo
emetwa kavutse malangabi anjenge wembube anjenge wengwenyama
His Excellency, His Majesty King Mswati III. This is the moment of truth. King Mswati III, as he is being driven around the arena and greeting the crowd. There is whistling, ululating, and joy among everybody here.
Nayo-ke isisondela izohlaliswa-ke esihlalweni sayo sobukhosi yinkosi entsha yesizwe samaSwazi bandla esiyibona laphayana.
ingozi ikuthula akaithathe akahambe nayo yadenza bakhe
iBhayibheli lithi kwakude lebekadzingile emkhathini wabo ngoba lebekanako bekakuletha etinyathelweni tebapostoli bese bakudistributa according to the needs talabazalwane babo.
Sekabekalanga ukuthi nilanga lokweshumi kunesondlo semfundisi wondliwa kuthi wendene ngoba lithi iBhayibheli umndvodza iyodla ukuthi utayo yabona.
We don't collect the money by force. We receive the money from a cheerful giver. That's my position.
Amen.
So it seems as though the church is not doing anything. No.
Ungela lihlelo lwakho njalo ngomsombuluko lensimbi yesithupha kusihlwa emsakadweni wakho lohamba phambili Eswatini TV isibuko samaSwati.
Msano ingozi akaithathe
Bekunene lo msebenzi lesiwenda kunamuhla ube ngumsebenzi lomkhulu lo hamba isikhathi wahamba eMaswatini onke awubuka ngeliso leliqophele ukuthi konke lesikwendako kugcine livela kangwane kulakhele nini bekunene
Mswatu ingozi kuthula akayithathe akahambe nayo akayithathe yadenza bakhe
Welcome back. You're still watching Kusile Breakfast Show. Our interview segment today looks at the ICC development in the Kingdom of Eswatini, having so many comments coming up from all over the world. Firstly, from Eswatini, a lot of people are just appreciating just how beautiful it is in terms of its state-of-the-art nature, but also the splendor inside. But most importantly, its functionality is the conversation we want to get into with our economist, Sanele Sbia, who joins us in studio this morning. Sanele, thank you so much for joining us here. Very good morning to you. I mean, we are all still in awe and just, awestruck amazement of the ICC, especially because a lot of people have been driving past it for years and years and years. And so the element of surprise going inside and seeing what it has to offer has been nothing short of amazing. But the most important thing, even His Majesty the King highlighted it, is that it has to be economically sustainable. How do we achieve that with this facility?
Thank you, Ngumalo, and good morning to you, and also good morning to the viewers. So yes, sustainability is key here. We need to ramp up our marketing as a country, and we need to get those international conferences. We need to get the UN to host their regional conferences here. We need to get the AU to come host their regional conferences here. SADC should come here. All the big international NGOs, whenever they're doing something in the region, they should get here, because you are looking at around 500 rooms and a number of auditorium spaces, and you have very close proximity to the Real Villas, Lukoko, and the Eswatini Sun. So what that means is you can get people. You can get over 1,000 to 2,000 delegates to conglomerate there, because the overflow can be adopted and absorbed by the other entities. So what we need right now is marketing and marketing and marketing and going out there and selling that palace. Imagine having a meeting in a palace, because it does look like one of those Persian palaces there. So you do need to ramp those up and have people come through and have those meetings. So right now, that is where we are as a kingdom, and that is what we need to push. We need to get the traffic going. We need to get those professional tourism, that conference tourism coming into the country, so that we can also get the offshoots and the spill of effects out of that hotel. So yeah, I guess it's marketing.
Yeah, and I was having a conversation with some people in there as we were touring, and the big one was, because I had already planned to have this conversation with you, and the biggest conversation was, you know, with a lot of these meetings that everyone is talking about, the AU meetings, the SADC meetings, the United Nations meetings, whatever it is, most of them are quarterly. And when you really study how, you know, they are made, they rotate amongst different states, really. And so, yes, that is something we can look forward to. But what else, really? Just looking at, you know, what this ICC can offer. I mean, there's a theatre club there. What can we leverage from the arts sector? Something that can be as frequent as possible. Even beyond that, I mean, seeing the cars in there and the way that they were placed. Surely that space can also be used by, you know, for something that is more frequent, hosting the Miss Universes of this world or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's where I wanted to go when you started your interlocution there. It's not just about the events of the AUs. There's always a conference, Nomalo. There is always a conference. I've attended a lot of conferences. There are always conferences happening across the globe. Even now, as we speak, probably there is a conference happening elsewhere where the time is okay. So that's why I'm saying we need to be broad in canvassing and looking for those spaces. And also in terms of the other events that you're mentioning, we can then as a country, we need to, not even that we must, you know, go scouting around, looking for these big events that need big venues to come through and host their activities here. We also need, you know, those others are not just events in the same manner. So look at the way you have the cars there. Now we always have those showcases. There is someone always showcasing a product. You always have your Microsofts and all these other tech giants in that auditorium space. Do you see how their conferences and their product launches often are? It's just a very simple setup, and all you need is a big space. So yeah, we have it's a world of multiple and endless possibilities. And it is, in my view, a space that is new for the kingdom. It's taking us into a direction which is different from what we know, from small conferences to big conferences. And now that's an entirely different space, from small, venues to bigger venues. So, I mean, if you looked at the Galadina there, that was, something out of this world. So imagine when you have people wanting to host those. So it's not just the conferences only. It's only also these elegant events that can come into Eswatini and be hosted there, those high-level events.
And you reckon, we have what it takes to secure a share of that market. And I'm also just thinking about, as you speak, these high-end designer brands. I mean, Gucci was being showcased. Gucci, the real Gucci office was there this past weekend. And we know that most of these high-end designer brands, every season, they have fashion runways where they showcase their new lines. Can we do that as well there?
Yes, the space is ample, the space is elegant. It does meet those world-class standards where you could have, those runways and, those models doing that catwalk there. So we can. What we need to do, again, I'm going to go back to that, it's marketing. Market the event, not just the venue. But market it as an integrated system that says you fly into Eswatini, you can be at the venue in less than 30 minutes, you can fly from South Africa in 40 minutes, get our flights to be a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for, competitive. Because at some point when in my past life, I was bidding for some conference and the only reason I lost it was because it was too expensive to come into Eswatini. But now with Eswatini Air, we've seen the fees go down drastically. So it's relatively comparative now to, those flights from Johannesburg to Cape Town or Durban. So that's what we need to sell. Sell it as a package to say you can be in there within 30 minutes.
How would you say a ramped up marketing framework or structure looks like for the ICC? Where do you place that mandate, that portfolio? Is it only on Eswatini tourism? Is it just a marketing office under the ICC? How do we ramp it up?
For me, it's a multi-pronged approach, Mr. Ngumalo. you need to get every stakeholder to do their bit. That's how you market a country, because what we are marketing here is a country, not just that structure. That structure is a structure amongst many structures and activities in Eswatini. So we need somebody to do it across. So we need APA when they travel abroad to market the ICC. We need, those delegates that travel with His Majesty on his, international economic diplomacy trips. We need to have that sort of marketing. We need, tourism to have that sort of marketing, because now I'm looking at the type of tourists you can now get with such a venue. There are tourists who get to be a bit picky and a bit choosy. So that venue is world class, and it is, in my view, a 5-star establishment. So you have an entirely new clientele that you can get from there, and now that's where we trust on the Palazzo or Dubai expertise to come in and do that marketing. And the fact that we got an international management company, now you can leverage all of that to say whenever in the Palazzo establishments, you could also market Eswatini and say you can go and have this in Eswatini, and they could even make those suggestions themselves. Say you fully booked in your Kenyan or South African facility, you say we have Swaziland as well, we have Eswatini as well. So that in itself is the multi-pronged approach that I am looking for, and we need to move beyond marketing Eswatini regionally in the media space. I think that's one thing we have missed as a country. I've not seen even a single Eswatini marketing product on the BBC. I've not seen one on CNN. But when you look at well-to-do countries like your Bahrains, they are there. I mean, those are countries that are already known that if you want to go there, you go there. So we need to also ramp up our media campaigns and make sure that we get the message there to the global north and the global south to say there is a jewel nestled between South Africa and Mozambique that is willing and ready to host you. So we need to spread that message broadly across the globe.
Yeah, and perhaps on the topic of ramping up marketing, I think I'm actually just getting an epiphany right now into His Majesty's strategy on why he made sure that the opening of the ICC is put next to his his birthday. And you look at the people that he invited, President Cyril Ramaphosa, President Duma Boko, who am I forgetting, King Letsie, former President Ian Khama. All these people are very important in their economies in terms of decision making. And that soundbite, that excerpt of President Cyril Ramaphosa when they were touring the ICC saying this is the best ICC that he has seen in Africa. Perhaps they go back to their countries, and anytime they have a conversation around hosting a conference or a big meeting, I think they're thinking Eswatini.
Yeah, they should be thinking Eswatini. And if you look at the entire architecture and the curation of His Majesty's Ruby Jubilee and his birthday, when I looked at it, I just realized the genius that was there. So His Majesty has already started marketing the event. So what we need to do now as a country is take it up and move forward. So he's handed over the baton. And then when you look at the way it was curated, you had those luxury vehicles there, you had the Gucci's, you had quite a lot of
Carol Bauer.
So they're all there. So already, even if at this point you didn't plan on coming into Eswatini, so whenever you are now following those feeds and everything that those countries are doing, and imagine what it takes to get Gucci here. Imagine what it takes.
Yeah.
So now already the ground has been laid. So what we need to do is move forward with that. And you got the likes of Davido. Imagine the exposure that you are getting from that.
Yeah.
And that says,
So that's quite big.
Yeah, whenever you want to host an event, go to Eswatini. And if all the people who are seeing those streams and everything, they are now planning, around working in Eswatini. And remember, we may be a small economy, but we are very big in the sense that the Southern African region, the SACU region, is amongst the most integrated regions in the world. And I think we are just behind the European Unions. The European Union, they overtook us, in the early 2000s. But before then, we were the most integrated region. So when you're thinking Eswatini now, you are not only thinking just 1.1 million people. You are thinking the entire SACU region, you're thinking the entire SADC region, because it makes it relatively easier for people to come and conglomerate here. So that's the thinking we need to do to have around the marketing and the sale of the venue.
I mean, Davido, on a personal anecdote, I was lucky just to even speak to him myself, and he did say that, wow, what a theater. And imagine that conversation he takes to Nigeria, he takes to the US, he takes to all these countries that he performs in, and he tells all these other big artists that there's a theater that we may want to host events at in Eswatini. And, Davido,
as an ambassador.
Absolutely. He's boasting what? I think 31.5 million followers on Instagram, and that's just his Instagram alone. And all these people have seen what Eswatini has to offer. The genius of the marketing behind this whole thing. While someone may look at it from a minuscule point of view and say, Davido is expensive or Gucci is expensive, but that also speaks to what the ICC has to offer, the kind of people that it attracts. So I agree with you very much there. But beyond the venue itself, earlier when you started, you spoke on spillovers. There's a lot of sectors in Eswatini that may have, that can enjoy spillovers here. We were talking tourism, we're talking SMEs, transport, hospitalities. What do we expect should be the strongest economic pool there?
For me, if we get the conferences to come, number one, I see a new transport sector coming into play, a luxury transport sector where you are moving people in luxury. Think Uber Black. So now that's
going shuttle service of some sort.
Yeah, that's because you need to move people from, KM3 to the venue there. And also we might see, bear with me here, we might see Matapa coming back to the play.
How so?
Matapa International Airport. Imagine these billionaires with their private jets, and they wouldn't want to get stuck in that very long journey to the venue. So as the traffic, increases, and as you are hosting a conference, you're having those chartered planes and everything, managing the airspace becomes a new frontier for us to come through. So you may have to land some planes elsewhere. So that's number 2. And then number 3, we are going to see, the audiovisual space, the live streaming space is going to come alive, where you are not just live streaming on your phone, these high quality live streams where you have these big conferences and you need the cameras to hook into something. I've seen the kids do it. I don't know how it's done, but you have the cameras, you hook them into something, so you get this high quality feed going up to the world. So now that's a space that's going to be coming out. And one space is going to be interpretations. If you've attended these international conferences, you need interpreters because you're going to have Angolans coming in, you're going to have Mozambicans coming in, you're also going to have your Equatorial Guinea coming in, you're going to have your Congos coming in, and then you're going to have the South Africans all coming in and everyone coming in. So what you need there is Portuguese, French, it's Portuguese, French, and Spanish. If you get the Eritreans to come in, you'd need Italian. So there's going to be a space opening up, but that is all contingent to whether we are able to get the traffic in. And then also note that there is going to be a lot of procurement. So imagine you are hosting 500 delegates. Let's just focus on the space only. You have 500 delegates. They will need to eat. You need to cook. They need to also go around seeing Eswatini. So there is going to be that retail demand. There is going to be also that tourism demand, right? And there is going to be the need for maintenance demand. And I'm thinking in the early stages, what we would rather be doing while we are still working on getting the foot traffic in, you would want to start small and continue expanding, which means as you are expanding, you would start probably by outsourcing.
For sure.
So you're going to see those cleaning companies also coming into the space, and the plumbing, the electrics, all of those companies.
Yeah.
So there is quite a lot of offshoots that I foresee coming out of being involved in what we call the MICE space as a country where you're looking at meetings, incentives, it's meetings, conferences, and incentive space. We call it a MICE space. So it does come with quite a lot of benefits around it, because
Absolutely.
not only do we come for the conference and leave, we all want mementos to say, I've been to Eswatini and this is what the kingdom has to offer. So the handicraft sector is going to probably come back as it was in the early 90s, where it was really sprawling, when we had a lot of tourists coming into the country, when we had a lot of these buses coming into the kingdom. So, when people want mementos, they want something unique to the kingdom. So we're going to see that space coming up.
I'm imagining the urgency around everything that we are talking about. Should they start to work as soon as possible, and before the ICC hotel has been complete? All the hotels in Eswatini are going to enjoy what the ICC has brought. But as you are speaking, maybe a word that we haven't used today that is quite key and that enjoys everything we're speaking about is job opportunities, employment. Everything that you mentioned means there are new employment opportunities. Of course, already we have so many young people who have been employed at the ICC, but everything else that you mentioned speaks to employment.
Yeah, everything else is about employment. You're talking of managing the airspace, you need a certain caliber of people there. You're talking about driving VIPs, you don't need your everyday driver. There is a certain level of expertise, etiquette that is required on there. You talk about outsourced maintenance services, and that again requires more people, because I'm imagining if you get that tender as a company, you may not necessarily have the capacity at hand. You need to hire new people to come in and do those. You get the craft space to come into play. Just yesterday I was in a gallery and I looked at the art that Eswatini are producing. So again, now that's going to be another avenue. You're going to see artists coming up, because when you talk mementos, it's not only just the handicraft, it's also this unique African art, Eswatini art to be precise, that you can sell to the world. And then that's going to be new jobs. You're talking of the demand that's going to come with the retail space. Again, new jobs. And then you are talking of the spillover effect, which in my view is not only going to be a benefit to the hospitality industry, but it is going to revitalize the hospitality industry. Because when you look at the numbers and where things are right now, is it's one sector that is a lot under pressure. I mean, we talk about this every day, you and I, when you look at the numbers in terms of what is happening in that sector. When you look at the inflation reports, they are showing signs that it's a sector that is under pressure. But imagine now if we can get the traffic to come in and have those overflows and those other accommodation venues as overflow capacity, what you call them, venues.
Yes.
So now you have an integrated system, and you have those roads, it's so integrated. So I'm thinking those UN conferences that we used to attend in my other life, you would have quite a lot of what we call side events. So the way everything is very close to the other, you could have a side event just there at Lukoko. You could have a side event at Sibane. You could have a side event at Royal Swazi. It's all there. You could have any side event at the Royal Villas. So that's why I'm saying, for me, it's marketing.
Absolutely. I mean, excited. I think we're all excited to see all of that come into life. We are competing with South Africa, and by the way, South Africa admitted a belt to us through the president who said this is the best ICC in Africa. But we are competing with South Africa. We are competing with Rwanda. We are competing with Kenya in this particular space. What is our comparative advantage?
That's why earlier on when we started, I said we need to get the pricing fares to a certain level, so that you are able to fly into Eswatini with relative ease. Our advantage, number one, is we have the roads. So when you get a person into Eswatini, relatively 30 minutes, you are at the venue. So that's a manageable time frame. And those countries that you've mentioned, except for South Africa, really it's quite a distance from their airports to the venue. What we need is to get competitive fares. And also the fact that we are next to South Africa somehow also works to our advantage. And the fact that we have KM3 International Airport, which is at a world-class standard as well.
Yeah.
You could also get chartered airplanes to come and land directly. So we have quite a lot of things working for us, which we need to leverage to make sure that the space is really utilized. I mean, you could have direct flights, and we have direct flights now from how many countries? You could fly directly around
Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa.
I think it's those three right now.
Yeah, but it's just different cities as well.
Yeah, but we're planning. When I looked at the RENAX website, you could see that they're planning Rwanda, Kenya, quite a number of events, quite a number of
destinations.
Yeah. So when you're thinking those number of destinations, you're basically saying it's easy to go to Eswatini now. We've dealt with that problem that I faced so many years ago when I was trying to get people into the kingdom. So we have dealt with that. And then secondly, we are a country that is rich in culture. We are a very hospitable people. So those are things that are working in our favor. You do have to take advantage of your neighbor's shortcoming. You talk of, okay, let me not go there, but you have to take advantage of your neighbor's shortcomings to say you come to Eswatini, you are going to be very safe. I mean, at some point I was sitting with my friends, and then we had a very loud bang. And then we all just sat there and were like, I lived in another country at some point in time. Whenever you hear such bangs, you get on the ground, right? But that is such a foreign concept to a Maswati, because you rarely ever hear a gun.
I mean, to your point, I think during the fireworks for His Majesty's, Ruby Jubilee, Maswati who were in the Eswatini premises and vicinities had loud bangs, and I'm sure they kept sleeping. They were like, okay, I'm sure it's not a bomb.
Yeah, it's not a bomb.
It's a celebration. In other countries, you want to get under the bed, you want to evacuate those spaces. So,
but in Eswatini, you want to go out and see what's happening. Yeah. But in other countries, you wouldn't want to do that, because you
don't even want to see.
Yeah. You'd be getting there, you'd be hit by strays and whatnot.
Yeah.
So we have all of that working for us as a kingdom, and our preservation of our cultural heritage also gives us an added advantage as a country. Yeah, and also when you get this of traffic coming into Eswatini, Nxumalo, I'm seeing an opportunity and an expansion of the number of carriers that are going to be coming into Eswatini, because you do have the traffic right now. Because one of the reasons you're not getting there in transport, once there's demand, there's also going to be supply,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prince Lerotoli Siso, the son to King Letsia III, told me that, 'cause I asked him, what has been the biggest thing that you've enjoyed in Eswatini? And he said, this is my second time in the kingdom, and I'm much grown now, and I can, perceive things much brighter, and I can understand things better now. And I can tell you, I've seen the beauty of it all, the splendor and everything at the ICC, but the culture is really lived here, and it's something that forces you to immerse yourself in it. And he said on Sunday he had prepared to be in the Botswana regalia, but he said, you know what, I want to be in the Siswati regalia. And indeed on Sunday he was in his Umtata, Ngonyane and Umhlanga. It was just a beautiful sight to see. So that is really a comparative advantage for anyone who still doubts it. Sanele Lesbia, our economist, chiming into the economic benefits that we should see from the ICC. Thank you for staying with us. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.